Teach House of St. Nick and Santa Claus and all those festivities coming up. And between now and then, it's sort of the anti-Santa Claus, the Philadelphia Eagles fan coming down this weekend with a relatively lousy 5-8 mark right now. And the Ravens needing to win this game and stay alive for Christmas Day when they'll see the Pittsburgh Steelers. This guy used to cover a lot of NBA, but I see as much NFL and baseball and all sorts of stuff. He is one of the senior writers at Fox Sports. We welcome him back onto the program. Dieter Kurtenbach joins us live via satellite, and you can follow his journey out at foxsports.com, as well as D. Kurtenbach. That's Kurtenbach, like Johann Sebastian. What's going on, Dieter? How's life? Happy holidays, man.
Happy holidays to you as well. Life's going great. I mean, we're hitting the best part of the NFL season. NBA's heating up. Baseball's got that hot stove going. What's more to want?
Yeah, it's the best part of the year when your team won last week. We didn't win last week. Monday night was rough, right? I flew up to Providence, and I've made that trip up and down Route 1. I feel like I've had the best and the worst of times in that parking lot. I don't know that they saw the best of Tom Brady or the Patriots, but certainly it was a relatively lackluster effort other than a couple of turnovers that came on, deep in their zone for the Patriots side. I don't know that the Ravens are feeling real good about what they saw on film this week, which may piss them off even more for Philadelphia and for Pittsburgh. But it was a bad time to play that kind of a game, I felt, on Monday night.
Yeah, no question. I thought that was kind of a prove-it game for the Ravens, who have been very up and down this season. And sometimes you think at it, and you look at that defense, and you look at Flacco getting the ball around, and you're like, this team could really be something in the AFC. And then you see a game like that Monday night game, and it was a dud. I mean, the scoreline doesn't show you that the Ravens couldn't get anything going on offense in that game. The points that came were almost you couldn't get more direct off the turnovers without it being actually direct for those points. And I felt like that Patriots defense wasn't doing anything too special. I just thought that Flacco had a really bad game, and that's the kind of dud you can't afford at this point in the season. You can't be going backwards. You need to keep pushing forwards, because the teams that enter the playoffs hot are the teams that end up winning.
Well, and you had a little wind at their back after the Dolphins game. A lot of times in the NFL, no matter who you're playing that week, if you're playing Cleveland or San Francisco, you generally feel good about yourself afterward, right? And the Patriots had a little bit of that going on too. They had some real turdy games, after Halloween, and couldn't prove much. I think for them it was and I love that term you used there, prove-it game. It was a prove-it game for the Patriots too, and for the most part they answered the bell. I mean, short of Brady's goofy pick and a couple of kick-arounds from a Baltimore kid of all things on punt and kickoff, it was a prove-it game for the Patriots, and they certainly stood tall in a game where they haven't been proven as much this year, I say.
Yeah, I would argue that the Patriots are one of the worst versions of the Patriots that we've seen under Bill Belichick. I just don't see that without Gronk there. I mean, there's some excellent players, don't get me wrong.
By the way, that's all the smack I talked last week till we showed up and they kicked the ball off. I played that whole card last week. I really did. I believe it even worse.
I still think it's the case. I just think that the lack of great teams in the NFL right now is incredible. You've seen what's happened with the Cowboys. I don't think the Patriots are all that good. I think that the threshold of elite play has dropped down pretty significantly over the last couple of years. So it really just comes down to having a couple of the best players on the field. And right now, there's not a better player in the NFL, in my opinion, than Tom Brady.
Well, hard for me to argue that after, we still have the scars running down our back here. Dieter Kurtenbach joining us here from Fox Sports. You can follow him out on Twitter at @DKurtenbach as well. To the NFL and, where the Ravens are, there's all of these woebegone franchises now, and you could throw the St. Louis, L.A. Rams into this mix, and, Jim Harbaugh's gotten mixed up in this out of Michigan. And, I heard all of it, and I heard, Crazy Sports Radio, earlier in the week talking about why would Jim Harbaugh want to leave Michigan at this point, right? I mean, people say he covets an NFL job. I'll believe that when I see it. I mean, I know Jim a little bit. I've known him for a long time. Clearly, I know his brother pretty well as well.
Right.
I think that was the seat he always wanted to sit in, and I do get the fact that there are rules there. You know what I mean? There are rules that aren't going to go away because of the institution, because of college football, because of the NCAA, that are going to make him uncomfortable at some point. But I don't know that he's going to walk from his quote-unquote dream job this quickly for something that's a smelly turd like the L.A. Rams. I mean, maybe when the stadium gets built, call him back in 2 years and maybe that would be something. But I don't know that that's an attractive job for a guy that already has a job that he probably already likes, in Michigan. He's still getting his way there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that assessment. I just think that when you look at who the Rams need to go out and get and how dire that situation is in L.A., I mean, the Chargers are probably going to come up to L.A. here starting next year or the year after. The Rams look like a disaster, the laughing stock of L.A. sports media right now. Nobody cares, and they're a joke. And people would almost prefer if they didn't exist, and they'll start treating them like they don't exist here pretty soon. They've blown out their goodwill in 11 months with Jeff Fisher sort of spearheading that effort.
But didn't we expect that? I mean, we saw the blueprints for this thing. I mean, everyone from St. Louis to L.A. looked at that and said, this is probably going to be a turd. And then they go and they spend their number one pick on a kid that they don't even use.
Right.
I mean, it's not like Fisher's Mr. Friendly or was going to come out there and talk about the Pacific Ocean and how lovely it was to be in town and build something. And pissing off Eric Dickerson, which isn't easy, isn't hard to do, I should say, right?
And I think that was the biggest thing. The whole pissing off Dickerson thing really put him front and center in the LA media thing, and then people started looking at it a little bit harder. It was easy to fly under the radar, and then you piss off Eric Dickerson, who decided that was his opportunity to really reignite his star in Los Angeles, and he played the Rams to perfection, and he got Jeff Fisher fired. I honestly believe that the second Fisher picked up the phone to call him and say, don't show up to the games anymore, was the moment that Fisher lost his job. But if you need somebody to turn around that team, you look at a guy who has a track record at Stanford, in San Francisco, and to a certain degree at Michigan, of turning around really bad situations really fast. He is the best coach that can do it at both the collegiate and NFL level. And if you're the Rams and you're thinking we need to get this hire right, because if we get this wrong, it could be a decade of futility on top of the decade we've already had. You pony up everything you can to get Jim Harbaugh. He probably will still tell you no. He doesn't need that job. He probably doesn't want that job. And there are going to be a lot better NFL jobs that are going to be offered to him probably even this year. But they have to go all in, and they have to offer him every penny and more, give him a blank check and any control he wants over the franchise if they want to be viable. And I think people are getting the first part of it, which is the Rams need to go as hard as they can at Jim Harbaugh, confused with the second part of it, which is he is interested in an NFL job, but just the right NFL job. And I don't think those two things match up in this case.
Well, San Francisco might be available again.
I don't think he's ever going to go work for Jed York again, for sure. And I don't think Jed would ever hire him. That guy won't swallow his pride. I'm in San Francisco right now, and I mean, it could not be more dour, the long-term prospects of the 49ers. I think this city is just ready to write them off entirely. And maybe if they get decent sometime in the next decade, which is looking pretty implausible, they can give them a call down in San Jose.
As bad as we feel like it is around here with the Ravens, kicking it around at 7-6 and losing to the Patriots and having to win on Christmas Day and having to go to Cincinnati and win, I look at what's happened to the San Francisco 49ers since I wrote Purple Rain 2, right? Coming off of that, the brothers, they came literally 3 feet away from winning the Super Bowl, 4 pass plays at the goal. I mean, all of those things. And where the Ravens and John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco and this organization is versus where the 49ers. I mean, we don't like where we are as Ravens fans. Everybody wants to be 13-3 every year, and it's all wonderful. But I can't imagine a thing coming unglued any worse and quicker and at a worse time when they were opening a stadium and they had the Super Bowl there and all the eyes on it. Then they go and hire this guy that couldn't get along with anybody in Philadelphia. And now all of a sudden, he wasn't a genius on the East Coast. He's not a genius on the West Coast. They are wayward, and it's all relative, right? I mean, the Jets are wayward. The Bills look like they're wayward. And then there's the Browns, and there's a whole different level of wayward going on there.
Yeah, at least the Jaguars and the Browns have kind of a plan. They're trying something. And the Browns have been bad for a long time, and the Jaguars have been bad for a long time. The Jets are in a bit of a free fall, but, I don't think it's as bad as the San Francisco situation, it was self-sabotage with the ownership group and wanting to kick out Harbaugh. I mean, they were bad before Harbaugh got there. He showed up. They got good. They rode it to a new $1 billion stadium. And then as soon as the going got tough with dealing with him, which it's going to happen anywhere he goes, he's a crazed man. They decided to cut ties, and look at where they're at now. So it was more of a blip than an upward trajectory that was going to continue without Jim Harbaugh. So yeah, I mean, the Ravens have a lot of things. Ravens things have a lot of things to be